Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Ben, this is Books with Bengus Khan, and today I have for you a double monthly wrap-up with everything I read in December and January. And work has just been kicking my butt recently, and I've not been filming as much as I'd like, so I got a lot to wrap up here. It's been quite an interesting last couple months of reading for me, and also have a nice holiday gift, fantasy-themed t-shirt that I get to show off that a friend got me, and so that's fun. And man, I have read a lot, and it seems like a very, very long time ago that I did this one. That's Mirror Dance by Lois and Master Bujold, maybe book 10-ish of the Vorkosigan saga that I've read, and a really great one. This was maybe the most impactful one as far as like the first half went. And then the story kind of shifted, and I also went to the Dragonsteel convention at that time, and I did almost no reading for like the 3 straight days that I was there, and just was trying to finish this one up just in little fits and starts, and so that really broke up my momentum with this book. So this one will benefit from a just straight through reread at some point, but really awesome. Love where Bujold is taking the Miles saga part of this whole series. I can't wait to read Memory soon. And then at Dragonsteel, I got this big boy, Wind and Truth, and was just barreling through it on the plane ride home after I'd finished Mirror Dance, and had a good time with this one. I gave it 5 stars right after I finished. I was really engaged for most of it, and really thought the many hundreds of pages of Sanderson paid off in really cool ways for a lot of different character arcs, and the overarching series plot arc and Cosmere plot arc. And then just thinking back overall on my experience and reflecting on some of maybe some of the flaws in this that did break up my immersion, or kept me from being fully as invested as I was in the first 4 books. And so I've maybe become a little bit more critical on this one over time, and felt like Sanderson probably rushed it. And, well, I know he did from what he said and his editorial team was saying at the convention, and could have used more time in the oven, some editing down of the many paragraphs of introspection that all these different characters are doing that often didn't feel fully organic, and some of the prose choices weren't my favorite. But in a 1,300 page book, just I can pass by a few words or a paragraph that kicks me out. I can get back in, and this still delivered a really impactful, engaging time. I just also had much more emotional experiences though with all the previous books, and I came out of this one feeling energized for where things were going, but definitely feeling like a really just engaging middle book. I didn't need this one to wrap up, and we already went on really impactful character arc journeys with the main cast in the previous 4 books, and so it's very understandable that it's just going to be less emotionally impactful, and so a bit of a mixed experience for the end of the first arc of Stormlight, because mildly disappointing that it didn't just blow me away in every possible facet like basically all the previous Stormlight books did, but I'm happy with the experience, and definitely still very much on board with this series and with the rest of the Cosmere books, which I'm super excited about with the next phase. Then I turned my attention back to one of my current favorite series, which is Dungeon Crawler Carl. So this book 7, This Inevitable Ruin, had just released in paperback a little while back, and the audiobook, which I was thinking I was going to wait for, is coming out soon in February. And so I wanted to be as invested and immersed in this story leading up to this book as possible. So I decided to do another series reread, which I'd already done right after I read through the first 6 books the first time. But this time I had the hardcovers that got released in trad for the first 3 of them, at least, and the next few are coming out soon. So I did it in print, and the first 2 times I read the series, it was fully by audio with Jeff Hayes' incredible engaging narration, and I wanted to experience it a little differently, and it was fun. I really caught, I think, every tiny detail that I might have sometimes missed with the audio, and just to see some of the character in the print with the formatting and the font for the different characters and the AI, and just to see how he formats some of the delivery of information was cool. And I really just fell even more deeply in love with all of these books this time around. And there's some extra supplemental story stuff at the back of each of these new hardcovers, which is giving you a little bit of a side story for some of the side characters, and that seems like it's building up into something possibly really important too. That was really cool to get a little bonus. And this first book, man, what a solid start. He hadn't yet just figured out the magic recipe that turns the later books into just utter epic fantasy masterpieces, but what a strong start. Just tense and dramatic and heartfelt and humorous. The mixture of all of it is just so unique and works for me so well. I met Dinniman briefly at the Dragonstone convention, saw him on some panels and speaking, and I really love just who he is and his sensibility and the mixture of tension and heart with the sometimes crass humor. Is a perfect mix for me. So I read that one, Dungeon Crawler Carl, went right into Carl's Doomsday Scenario, and I hadn't yet fully gotten hooked into the series the first time I read book 2, but it's improved with each read, and now it might still be my least favorite of the bunch, but it was still really impactful and setting up so much that is really important for later in the series. And I've seen other people really love book 2, and it has a very different feel, and I just didn't vibe with some of the large quest stuff going on in here. And each time I reread, I think it's richer and has more substance than I initially thought. So solid time with book 2 all over again. And yeah, this book 3, the Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook, really benefited from slowing down in print, because it is quite confusing, the layout of the setting for this book. And just doing it by audio, I think, makes it more confusing, but being able to just reread some of the description, because Dinniman does include description of these places, but it's very quick and sparse, and so blink and you'll miss it. But with this, you can really slow down with the description and be like, okay, he did describe this room or what's going on here, the layout of this whole thing. And it's just confusing and intentionally so. But I've seen him say that he wishes he could have gone back and made this book a little less confusing and convoluted, just easier to follow everything. Because I think that it is a bit of a stumbling block for people, and for everyone's enjoyment of the plot payoffs. But man, I love this book. I just trying to avoid any specific information, because if you have not read these, I don't want to spoil a single thing about this. I guess it's not a spoiler to say that the main characters are Carl and his sentient talking cat, Princess Donut, and they're a fantastic pair that you are following through, that are the heart of this whole thing. But just don't want to say almost anything else besides, if you have not tried these, go read them, and I'm so jealous that you get to experience it all for the first time. The audios cannot be beat, but doing it in print was great too. And then I don't have the print, so I ended up doing the ebooks for books 4, 5, and 6. Book 4, Gate of the Feral Gods. Man, this book is just... I've rarely seen it be other people's favorite DCC book, but it is just perfection for me. Every time, 3 times, just perfect, 10 out of 10 read for me. There are some moments it builds to that are so incredibly tense, and some of the craziest action scenes, and you just feel like by the end of this that anything under the sun could happen, and just how crazily big some of these scenes get, and the stakes for them, and the continual deepening of the overarching political plot that's going on a galactic scale is just one of the great treats that really really kicked off in the previous book, Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook, and Dinniman just dives deeper with all of that as we go later in the series, and that's awesome. It just, man, it's becoming real epic fantasy by the time we're in Gate of the Feral Gods. And then book 5, was it The Butcher's Masquerade? Yeah, that one. Oh man, on reread, some of these are so tense the first time because you just don't know what's going to happen. You can relax a little bit on the reread when you know kind of who's most in danger and who's gonna be safe throughout. And I mean, it's so gritty, these books. But this one is a real treat for a lot of reasons. And then not a perfect read for me. Some of the quest stuff that returned from book 2 kind of slowed things down a little bit, but that does have payoff still, and this insane climactic sequence at the Butcher's Masquerade is just one of my favorite kind of fantasy sequences, just period. And then it really delivers some emotional gut punches, and even one in the middle of this book, and then the stuff later, just incredible. And the momentum that we have in the overarching story heading into book 6 with The Eye of the Bedlam Bride. Man, this is such a cool book. Dinniman calls it his Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh book, and I just really love the freshness and creativity of those elements that he pulled in, and the setting in particular just allowed for different emotional resonances than we'd seen before. It's so good. I am gonna eventually have to do just a huge spoiler video or tier list or just discussion on all of this to dig into all those amazing details along the way, and plot beats and character beats. Man, it's so incredible. There are maybe 3 gigantic action sequences, and he is a master at placing really emotional character moments within and around these action sequences. Just one of the best I've seen at doing that. And this time, though, I finished them so quickly, and I was going to be waiting like another month for the book 7 audio, and I just wanted to go right into it. I couldn't stop, and so I did it, and I went into This Inevitable Ruin. This is a big boy, and it's building up to this part of the dungeon called Faction Wars, which we've been hearing about for so long, and it seems like it's a really big deal. And Dinniman had a lot to cover with this one, and just so many moving pieces, and I think he did it masterfully. I just was utterly gripped to this from beginning to end. I don't know if it's my favorite, because I loved some of the previous ones to such an insane degree, and the exact nature of this means it's going to feel a little different. It's going to involve a lot more pieces on the board, and but I really love what he did with it, and I think he just nailed it, and that people that have high expectations for this one coming into the audiobook, get ready, you're going on a wild ride. And that cover does it justice. Man, I barely want to say anything about it. Don't want to even give any kind of premise away. You just experience it and be surprised and thrilled. And man, it's now painful to be waiting for the next book. He's been really good at writing these quickly and getting them out. And I really need the next one. I think he's planning it to be a 10-book series, and so we're definitely in the home stretch. And just man, I don't want it to end. So just as long as he wants to tell this story, I'm gonna be there with him. Absolutely one of my favorite things, and I'm probably gonna re-listen to this soon once Jeff Hayes' audiobook is available, and just to get it that different way. This was an awesome stretch for me, just rereading and then getting that new book, which is just had so much going on. And you know, Dinniman is so creative, and you never know what surprises he's gonna pull and how things are gonna play out. Man, so good. If you have not started DCC, I could not recommend getting into it more. And if you're a little confused by some of the things happening in the first few books, it smooths out as we go, and Man, just by book 4 onward, so emotionally impactful. On top of just being fun and engaging and so filled with so much heart, I think it's really easy to get behind the found family at the heart of this who are trying to survive. So, yeah, love DCC. After going on that third time on the ride, the roller coaster ride of DCC, I was in a weird space where I wasn't sure what I was in the mood for to do after that, and I was thinking, well, maybe this is really LitRPG light, but I was interested in trying other LitRPG because this was my first one, and so I went and tried a couple others, and some that are very highly regarded in the LitRPG community. I think one was One More Last Time, and this was much more like you're in a virtual reality video game situation, and it was not working for me at all. I was just feeling like nothing was mattering that was happening. Super hard to just get into caring for this story. I tried a different one. It was the same kind of deal where someone's kind of in this virtual reality video game. Often these characters kind of get stuck in it for one reason or another. And again, I gave it a bunch of hours and I just could not care about what was happening. I didn't know if it was the writing, the setup, and these were much more heavy on just like delivering LitRPG video game elements. And it made me appreciate the way that Dinniman is so seamless with integrating that into DCC, where it's really much less of a focus. And I was like, oh, I'm still in the mood for maybe LitRPG, and so I went back and tried Matt Dinniman's LitRPG standalone, what is it called? The Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon. There we go. And this, I did the audiobook. I was not enjoying the narrator, and I went onto the Sound Booth Theater app, which is Jeff Hayes' audiobook production company, and they have this cinematic audio, multicast production with lots of sound effects version of Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon, and the production on it is incredible. I'm not the biggest fan of when there's music playing during, because that kind of distracts me from the narration, but when there's no music, when it was just like adding sound effects and some of the having multicast for this one was really great. So I was enjoying the audio, but again, we're very much trapped in a video game for this book, and man, that setup, I've now tried 3 different ones with that setup, and it was not working for me still. It was definitely like Dinniman's style was bringing me in more than the other ones I tried just before it. And so I did finish this one. It was just an okay experience for me. It took me a while to get through, and it felt like a proto version of DCC. The main character, Duke, is definitely a proto Carl, but just not as gripping of a character to be with and follow. There was a pet companion who was great, kind of felt like a different kind of proto Princess Donut. Some of the plot beats also felt like he just leveled up when he was approaching DCC on this more epic series scale than having to fit lots of things into a standalone. And this video game, by the way, it is insane. Like, the video game that Duke is trapped in, it's like about these giant kaiju monsters are the defenders of the realm, and all these demons from hell are escaping in, and the game players have to basically keep the kaiju alive and healthy, and by healing them kind of from the inside, and you're inside a lot of these very organic giant creatures, and this is like a lot of body horror stuff. Some really horrific torture scenes are happening in this. Like, it's a incredibly graphic book and video game like immersive experience that Dinniman was crafting here. So for people who really enjoy like really intense like body horror stuff, this book has a lot to offer. That's not really my thing though, and so a lot of elements here weren't really working for me. So that was just okay, and then it was hard for me to find stuff. I maybe wanted to keep up with Adrian Tchaikovsky, and so I went for his newest novella release, which is Saturation Point. This released a couple months ago, and this is a sci-fi novella that also was hard for me to get into. Felt somewhat similar in some of the setup to Ellie and Clay, and we are venturing into just a part of Earth that has in the near future kind of become superheated and humid, and it's really difficult for people to just even visit there with kind of all suited up. And the setting stuff was cool, but this is really a one POV kind of story, and never really connected to that character, and that's always tough. This was okay. I'm already forgetting a lot of details from it though, and I did not read this very long ago, which is not a good sign. I fear this is Tchaikovsky's most forgettable book that I've read. Just among the novellas, just Ogres had so much impact at a similar length. Just was not really feeling this one too much, so maybe wouldn't recommend going out of your way to get this standalone version, but it'll probably show up in one of his 3 novella collections that he's been releasing, and for just a couple hours it was engaging, but not exactly as impactful as I had hoped. And then I ventured into a epic fantasy series that I've been meaning to get to for years. I finally was brought into the Dragonbone Chair for a buddy read and chat by Josh at Red Fury Books. Just last weekend, had a great live chat with a bunch of people there. And I saw on Goodreads, I put this on my TBR for 2022 to read then. And I've just been waiting because I kind of knew that it might not be totally for me. And as this bridge between Tolkien and more modern fantasy, I tend to like the faster paced series. And I headed into this knowing it was going to be probably very deliberately paced and written in a way that's just a little more elevated than what I'm used to. And I didn't fall in love with this, but I still liked it, and it kind of helped, I think, that I had the right expectations for this going in. But still, I was still kind of surprised at how slowly it moved within each section just to get the story to the next main beat. It still kind of was slower than I was ready for. I typically just enjoyed my time with it, but it was hard for me to get fully sucked in and immersed with the writing. And I think the more time I spend with it, the easier that'll be. I really like our main teenage protagonist, Simon. I tend to really like these coming-of-age style protagonists who a lot are put on their shoulders at a young age, and they have to rise to the occasion. And so I really connecting to that main POV. The side POVs, though, were the issue for me. We're going to a bunch of different locations for just little random chapters here and there, and I was not feeling grounded in really any of the settings where we were not kind of spending time with Simon. And just a lot of names, a lot of places, a lot of historical exposition that just hard for me to sink my teeth into and care about. The world building just feels a little stale, European medieval style stuff with the human locations. I did enjoy when it got more high fantasy and we were meeting non-human characters and races and very fantastical settings. Like, that was really working for me. Other things weren't working as much. Like, there's a lot of dream sequences and just symbolism, and Simon is dreaming of this giant wheel, and that's just not really what I love in my books. All of those kind of dream sequences and so much different symbolism, and there's a lot of songs in here too, and I kind of would just glaze over and skim those, and so there's different elements here where I'm not able to get just fully immersed and stay with the story for long stretches, and so it took me a while to read this one, and I might take a break. I might have to pause my involvement with the buddy read, because I just, if I'm going to read Stone of Farewell, that would be my entire February, I think, with how long this one took, and that one's even longer. And I don't think I have a prayer of reading To Green Angel Tower in March, especially because I'm going to be taking a trip with my wife, and that'll be a couple weeks where I won't be reading much. So I've been told that it's a series that it's totally fine to take long breaks in, and yeah, there's not that many main plot points or characters, so I feel like if I take a break, it'll be fine. I think seeing the arc of where this is going for this trilogy, I am more interested, I think, in where Williams takes it, and just more recent books, and to see him evolve, to see how the series evolves, and the writing, if it does change over time, I'll be interested to see. I know it's a really big series in kind of the history of epic fantasy, so I'm just thankful that I now have experience with it, and want to continue, because Williams is a really elegant, smart writer, and there's so much great imagery and so many great turns of phrase, and so there's a lot to appreciate here on an intellectual level. I want to get really hooked in on that just pure emotional level, though, at some point to this, or else it'll be a lot of pages of just trying to force myself to care. But overall, I think this one was okay. I don't think, though, I'm gonna fall in love with this trilogy at the very least, which is kind of disappointing. I was really hoping to, but still a lot to appreciate there with that one. And then, that takes me to what I'm reading now. I needed a break from epic fantasy after that one. I needed a palate cleanser, and I've just been looking around. Almost started a bunch of different things. Then what really ended up working is Upgrade by Blake Crouch. Man, this gets started really quickly and just like near future and very easy to get into and hooked by. So I'm already feeling like this was the perfect choice for a palate cleanser. Then we'll have to see what I'll venture forth after that with. But yeah, that was my last couple months, and it's time for a book of the month, which I think I will split up December and January. All right, December book of the month. That's a pretty tough one between Mirror Dance and Wind and Truth. Ooh, really had great times with both of these. I think, oh man, that's tough. I think I will give it to Wind and Truth book of the month for December. It was also, I think, going to Dragonsteel and being surrounded by all these Stormlight mega fans, and I was in the spirit of this series, and that helped me, I think, just have a great time with it. And it's definitely, I think, the biggest long-term memory I'll have from December of 2024 is the convention and reading this book right after. And so, yeah, I had a great time with this one, even if it probably, just less impactful than the books that came before. But that's okay. It was still a great time. And for January, that's gonna be pretty easy. The new release from Matt Dinniman, This Inevitable Ruin, a dramatic, tense roller coaster ride. Just if you're gonna be reading this or listening to this soon, strap into your seat, hold on tight. You're about to go on one wild and crazy ride, and enjoy it. So that was the last 2 months. Let me know what you've been reading and loving, or what you thought of any of these. And yeah, I'll catch you later.